shout out to Draymond Green getting exposed. His ass is like 6'2" in reality. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, to another episode of the Bright Now podcast. We're recording this on Tuesday, January 23rd, 7:35 p.m. Eastern Time. My name is Dash, and I am the based Chad Instagram user to my chronically online ex, formerly known as Twitter, friend here. TJ, how are you doing today, brother, and what will we be talking about?
Feeling good as always. We got back-to-back wins coming on. What is it, a 5-game win streak? Six-game win streak. My bad, 6-game win streak right now. Kevin Durant is just lighting the NBA world on fire, which would be bigger news if Joel Embiid wasn't also lighting the NBA on fire right now. But today we're going to be breaking down the Suns versus Pacers game on Sunday, which our boy Dash was actually there live and in person. Going to be talking down that Bulls game and the clutch play of Kevin Durant just coming to save us again. And then we're going to wrap it up giving our all-star predictions. I'm taking the West, he's taking the East, and we'll figure out who's going to be playing first in Indianapolis. So to start things off with the Suns versus Pacers, just the floor is yours. What was the vibes in the arena like? Pre-game, post-game, during? How was it? How was the energy in the building?
It was dope. I got some Christmas tickets for my family to go take them over there. It was a Suns win, as you said, 117-110. Walking into the newish arena, they had a lot of new designs, a new bar that's going to be in the middle. I mean, we saw when we went to the Clippers game, but still relatively new to my family. They haven't gone to a game since. But I mean, the first thing, and every time I see Kevin Durant play, I always have to say to everybody, he is a legit 7-footer. I don't care if anybody says anything different, show me any photos, I don't care. You see him standing next to Yusuf Nurkic, and it looks like he's a little bit taller. I'm even in the camp where he's almost 7'1". I don't give a fuck. Like, I genuinely think that this man grew more than he was at the beginning of his NBA career, came in young. Guys are still able to grow until they're 21, 22 years old, and he was already lying about his height at that time, saying that he was 6'9", when in reality he was about 6'10", 6'11", so I genuinely think he's a monster 7-footer. He is so goddamn agile. What are you gonna say?
Quick on that point. Kevin Durant's the only guy who, when they changed the NBA measuring requirements to be barefoot and done by a league official, he was literally the only guy that got taller.
It's ridiculous.
Everybody else was short. He was the only guy lying about his height to be shorter than he actually was. I guess Wemby's doing that now too, but that's beside the point. But yeah, it's insane. Totally with you.
Dead ass, and shout out to Draymond Green getting exposed. His ass is like 6'2" in reality. Just trying to say he's 6'7", but yeah, just being at the game, it was super cool. It was a lot better than the Spurs game that I had gone to, just because it did end up in a loss. This was the first win Suns game I've been to in I think 3 years in the Denver versus Suns playoff series, and so hey, got the monkey out the back. I was a little nervous, but no Tyrese Halliburton, which was a shame. One of my personal favorites. If you guys are listeners of the pod, you probably know, but really cool to see everybody. We had pretty decent seats. The thing that stood out to me most just about the in-person experience as well, besides the whole Kevin Durant thing, was that the crowd was looking a lot better. And I think the rumblings of people, hearing that, Phoenix has turned into, just, LA people moving over here, just going to the games just as a little side fun event. I think the narrative is slightly shifting, or at least those same people are becoming more diehard fans, just more Kevin Durant fans, just because the energy in there was electric at points. I mean, this game got close here and there. I mean, it seemed like the Suns were really in control the whole sense of the game, but it seems like the crowd was a little bit better, and so I was very happy about that. The actual in-depth of the game is very hard to follow in person. I mean, I don't know how the fuck those commentators do it. I mean, I was just in awe, I'll be honest. I was a little fanboy. Got to see, Devin Booker, Bradley Beal, and KD play for the first time all together on the same court. But no, awesome experience. Couldn't have asked for a better experience in terms of the big three scoring. I mean, Booker with 26, Beal with 25, and of course, KD's nasty 40 bomb, which had no free throws attempted, which is the most he's had in his career with no free throws attempted. TJ, what did you see from at home?
It was the Kevin Durant show through and through. He's 18 for 25, 72% from the field. 3 blocks, so he's getting it done on the defensive end as well. And I have an all caps written here, 0 free throw attempts. So for all the basketball purists out there, the ball don't stop kind of folks, that's the game that you dream of from a guy where it's a ton of pull up jumpers, knocking down threes. How many threes did he end up hitting in this game?
4, I think.
4 for 7 from the 3-point line. So it's just working inside. He really does it all. And we're going to be talking about Kevin Durant a lot on this show, so I'm going to save my points for a little bit later when we get into it. But he's just absolutely phenomenal. It really was, I think, the Big Three's best game of the year. I mean, correct me if you feel differently, but Book with 26 points and 8 assists, and he led the team with a plus 14 plus minus. Beal had 25 on 11 for 16 shooting, so just another kind of like perfect night. Combined for 91 points, which is actually the second time KD has combined for 91 points. He did it with Westbrook and Harden in 2012. But just absolutely insane from those three guys. Just absolutely cool. Honestly jealous that you got to see this in person because it's kind of the perfect kind of tone setter for what we wanted this team to be all year. And get it done with a 7-point victory. Not the best thing in the world. You'd like to kind of blow them out. But the Pacers are a good team. Was this Siakam's first game with the Pacers as well?
This was going to be a second game. I know you weren't super impressed with his performance, but I liked what I saw from him. I mean, what do you have, like 18 points, 16, 17 points, something like that, with 6 assists, few rebounds here and there.
15.7 assists. So, a fine game if you're into that.
Fine game. Yeah, no, he's trying to find his footing for sure. It was really cool to see to stick with the Pacers side of the ball as we're talking about him. Jalen Smith, he looked like he was pissed, had something to prove against this Suns team because this motherfucker was 100% from the field and had 15 points. And man, he just looked like he had a specific agenda on his mind going to the game. There was one point where he tween cross pulled up in front of Kevin Durant's face. I was like, what the fuck is going on? My little brother, who everybody is an avid Suns fan, very knowledgeable about the team since he could fucking talk. He kept yelling out to the crowd, who the hell is this man? Over and over when he kept doing that. And we had a dude in front of us who was Mr. fucking Educate. He turned around and was like, hey, actually, we drafted him and he played on the team for a year. And it was just a hilarious moment. Domino started chanting out. Yeah, that's why it's funny, bro. He was like, started chanting out. He's like, don't worry, I know who Jalen Smith is, guys. Don't worry. I was like, bro, just being a dickbag. But awesome to see. Like I said, it goes all the way back into the energy thing. The whole crowd was absolutely electric. There were some Jalen Smith fans or just people who are, always rooting for his success at the end of the day. There was a lot of Phoenix fans who were not fond of just letting him go. But it was super cool to see. Some negatives. Sometimes we might be viewed as a negative podcast just because we are so nitpicky at points. But the Suns only hit, 6 threes this game? Or no, 8. Yeah, if we could hit more than 8 threes, that would be pretty cool. We got the job done at the end of the day. It seemed like we played at the pace of the Pacers, just with the fastball movement. But I'm not opposed to it. I like seeing the fastball movement. I think sometimes we can get a little bit stagnant, especially when Booker's bringing up the ball and just getting trapped at half court. Not a huge fan of that. But overall, pretty cool viewing experience.
Yeah, to echo some of those concerns, you're right. 8 for 25 from 3 isn't great, and usually that wouldn't even get the job done against the Pacers. But we still just have those 3 guys who can do it all on the court and score any which way, no matter how you guard them. The bench just continues to struggle. 9 points off the bench there, and Nurk only had 4, so that's 13 points combined with the bench.
Yeah, and ended up fouling out in like 18 minutes.
So that's pretty rough. He can likely get played off the floor when we play against these younger, faster-paced teams. But it does kind of solidify. We know Grayson Allen is our 4th option. It's kind of clear as day. He's the 5th starter at this point. We knew Nurkic was going to start in those 3 guys. So that feels nice to have that semblance of structure. And if you look at that lineup's offensive rating, I know it's starting to finally stabilize a bit, but it's still at just an insane number. So I'm liking what we're seeing from our main group.
Did you see that was the most played lineup for the Suns finally? Our starting 5, it finally got to that point?
Beautiful. I missed that, but yeah, that is that's what we need. That's what we've been talking about all year. Is just we need these guys to be playing, and that actually is a pretty good segue into this next game against the Bulls because we had a back-to-back here. It was our 3rd game in 4 days, and specifically, I'm a little worried about this upcoming stretch for the Suns, just in terms of health and rest. But we are playing every other day now until February 10th. Where they then get 2 days off and then follow it up with a back-to-back against Sacramento and Detroit. So that's 13 games in 18 days, unless my counting is just completely wrong. But 13 games in 18 days seemed like it. Just seems like a really bad job scheduling. I don't know why these are all bumped together. at most levels of basketball, you're supposed to practice more than you play, and I hear this is a big concern or like counterpoint to AAU basketball is because they play way more games than they practice. And I think if we did just space these games a little bit apart, give more practice time in between, we don't need to, that's why the schedule just needs to shrink, in my opinion. Just to create a better product, and to create, each game needs to just matter a little bit more.
Yeah, and I think, people always bring up the argument of like the profit incentive, of slashing down the schedule. But man, if you're getting a higher quality, I mean, I feel like that's the way, right? Like if you're getting all your stars playing every single night, it gives people less of an excuse not to tune in. I mean, even with the Suns versus Pacers game, if you see that Tyrese Halliburton is going to play, I'm sure the viewership is going to go up a lot higher than it would have previously. But I do like that segment going into it, because I did want to ask you a question. The tweet that you got off on the Bright Now Twitter account that you're talking about, this is one of a trap game right here, going against the Bulls, coming off so many games in a row. Was it still kind of cool to see us come back against, we did have a lot of reasons in the world, down 23 in the third quarter at one point, that we were a team that we're super nervous for in the fourth quarter. Not saying all of our issues are relieved by any sense of the word, but were you kind of impressed to see that we did end up coming back and just really grinding out this game?
Oh, absolutely. And for a lot of the game, it did feel like it was going to be that trap game where those guys are just kicking our ass at the end of the day, because we're just looking ahead. Like the next game we got is the Mavericks. So that can definitely be kind of a look-ahead game where you're paying more attention on the next opponent than the one right in front of you. And especially with Chicago's play style, where they do have some really gritty defenders and they have some high-level shot makers with DeMar DeRozan and Kobe White, and Vucevic, always doing his thing as well. So we can kind of get lulled into that trap. But yeah, we've just kept powering through. We were getting good looks for most of the game, and then we really tightened it up on defense near the end and just executed. And it helps when you got a guy like Kevin Durant just absolutely dominating. Because that's what
Can I
that's
talk
what
about
he was
that
in
Kevin
this
Durant?
game.
Can I
Absolutely.
talk about the Kevin Durant just a little bit? Just because, like you said, to get hot in a cold game is something very difficult for a lot of players. There's only 48 minutes that you can actually get your shit off. And this guy started off 4 for 16 at one point, Kevin Durant, and ended up shooting 50% from the field with 16 for 32, giving him 43 points. That is absurd.
And that's like I mentioned earlier about the ball don't stop, and the tween guys, just he should be their hero, and he honestly is in most senses, but just a pure bucket getter. I think he's the best individual scorer in the history of the game. Like if you're just talking in terms of mano-a-mano, we're playing a one-on-one tournament with all the players in the league, like he's in the GOAT conversation in that aspect. I know there's all the legacy bullshit talking, he tainted it by going to the Warriors, whatever. He doesn't care. I don't care. He's the only guy to go toe-to-toe with LeBron in the finals, to really, truly be the focal point going toe-to-toe, and he's 2-1 against LeBron in the finals. So he hits the game winner again tonight after, like you said, just a slow start and just feeling like the shot was just a little off, and he just turns it back on because we needed him to. And he's the easy money sniper. He's the Durantula. He's the best. He's my favorite player ever, and probably the best player to ever put on a Suns uniform.
And to go back to it, like we absolutely needed it, and we look at the reasons why. I mean, we saw Kobe White was absolutely torching us, and I know you're in the same camp as me. You do think he's a great basketball player as well, but holy shit, our point of attack defense is just continually not there. Nurkic is not going to provide any crazy rim protection, and Kevin Durant can't play the 5 all the time, just flat out. I mean, we saw in the last game going even where we allowed, I think it was, they had 8 more offensive rebounds than us, and we just can't always go to it. As spurts, definitely necessary. Give us some spacing, a lot more free-flowing, but man, I really was impressed with Kevin Durant. And the second MVP of this game, it wasn't Devin Booker, it wasn't Bradley Beal, it wasn't Yusuf Nurkic, it was Drew Eubanks. I mean, he had super clutch offensive rebounds.
Wow.
You saw his stuff?
The weak-ass
he
earned himself some minutes.
Oh, yeah. No, I agree. And then he played Drummond into getting him to pick up a technical foul on himself. Then 3 back-to-back-to-back dunks off dump downs that just fired up the team, fired up the arena. That's why he was a plus 19, because he was definitely part of that initiating of making that comeback happen. I was really impressed with those minutes. Did you have any thoughts on the Booker or Beal performances?
Yeah, it's Booker. You'd like him to take more than 11 shots in a normal night, but it did feel like, hey, they're just going to feed KD. 5 assists as well. So it just wasn't a great showing by him. But like we said, they got some good wing defenders over there in Chicago. They're not a joke by any means. And sometimes the jumper just goes a little cold. He's 2 for 6 from 3. Bradley Beal, same sort of situation, 7 for 17 from the field. And they got looks that I'm happy with most nights. And the fact that we got the W, if Booker and Beal can both score less than 20 points and we can win, I will take that every time it can happen.
Yeah, I 100% agree. Did you want to touch on anything else with this game specifically? Or do you want to talk about some of the league new stuff? I know we didn't necessarily talk about it before, but just some of the Buck stuff, the Embiid stuff, the Cat stuff.
Oh yeah, so I think I'm good on this Bulls game. Shout out Kevin Durant, God bless him.
Yeah, 100%. Going into the league news stuff, did you have any just flat out thoughts? Because this did happen all in today, and then two of the topics yesterday. But today, with Adrian Griffin getting fired from the Milwaukee Bucks after being 30-13, second in the East, and having one of the highest rated offensive in NBA history. Did you have any initial thoughts?
I thought it was awfully quick. We did hear all the rumblings since before the start of the season. It was like, right before training camp? It might have been right before the first game where they fired Terry Stotts. Or yeah. I guess he quit. He just stormed out of a practice and had gotten into it with Adrian Griffin. There's been multiple times where it just feels like a mutiny against those players, telling him, hey, we play drop, pick, and roll coverage. We're not going to get up like this. Like, this is how we've done it for however long. And they do have a core that's been there for a while. So they should rightfully have some sort of say in how they're going to play.
Yeah.
But the fact that he's the coach there for, I think I saw on a tweet that it was like 268 days, like not even a full calendar year of time as like the guy for that team. So it seems awfully quick to me. I don't always love it, but if he's lost the locker room and this is a team competing for the championship and like they think it's going to be a cloud hanging over him, I guess you bring in a new guy and just hope that he can stick with some of the principles you've already been taught. Like, are they just going to rehire Bud? Like, I don't know.
Sounds like they're going to bring in old guy Doc Rivers. Going into the other stuff with the scoring from last night, it was absolutely absurd. We have Joel Embiid with 70 points, becoming the 12th highest scoring game in NBA history, absolutely abusing our guy Victor Wembanyama. At first, I'm an Embiid hater, but man, I was like, hey, maybe Wemby can get his get back right here. He's getting some stops right here on Embiid. No, there was no stops being had. He only finished with only 17 free throws in that game, which is low relative to the 70 points and how many free throws we've seen him shoot in a game before. Where does this just put your head with Embiid's dominance? Is this a solidifying MVP moment?
Well, it should be. This is an MVP moment for sure, like something that'll be talked about for probably for the rest of our basketball lives. We may be talking about one of this 70-point game because it felt just huge. And the Wembanyama factor of it just kind of being his, it's kind of for every podcast they just ask, "What's your welcome to the NBA moment?" Like yes. that's gonna be Wemby's though, which is I think just a great part of history. But I was always with you. I was an Embiid fan for a long time, and then the foul baiting just got over it for me. But earlier in the season, I broke down that like this would be the best scoring season since Wilt Chamberlain averaged 50 points a game, and especially by a center. So he's continuing that run. He's just padding up his numbers again. And honestly, shout out to the Spurs for just keeping it close enough for him to have to go back into the game to score 70.
Honestly, shout out Coach Pop. And then we have the 62-point performance by Karl Anthony Towns that ended in him getting benched towards the end of their game, and a loss against let's just keep it real, atrocious Charlotte Hornets. Any thoughts there?
Yeah. Has there ever been a 60-point game where people have walked away like not happy with the player? Like that's so weird to me that would be the attitude, especially from the coach, to come out and say it publicly. So obviously some of those things are already stirring, and the reason that he got pulled from the game wasn't because of his lack of scoring. He did go cold down the stretch there, but yeah, it's just not a good look. I had predicted before the season that Cat's likely to be traded. Doesn't look like it'll happen during this season, but this summer I would definitely be on the lookout for them to just kind of make a sneaky deal to get somebody else with Ant.
Yeah, Chris Finch was on that ass. I think you're right. Moves might be made. Probably not by the end of this deadline, but definitely check for next offseason. All right, so we'll go into our last segment right here. We're talking about predicting the All-Star starters. And TJ, before you get into yours, I just want to remind everybody on how they're chosen the starters. It's going to be 50% of the vote goes to the fans, 25% goes to the current players, and the other 25% goes to a select group of media.
Did you get your ballot in the mail? Like, we're in that vote. They must have had my address wrong or something because
No, yeah, they wanted me to fill it out for both of us.
I thought if you buy a microphone, you're automatically in the media ballot. I was literally prepping my MVP vote.
Get the fuck out of here. TJ, I did want to ask you, though, would you change anything about the All-Star voting percentages? Are you a fan of how much percent that the fans get or media in general, or do you think it should go more to the players?
I think they should do I think the fan vote matters because this is like a fan event. It's supposed to just like kind of build excitement around the league, and where it's placed is always like it's right after the Super Bowl or like right around the Super Bowl always. Mm-hmm. So the NFL fans are just like, it's kind of their kickoff to the NBA season.
Yeah.
So I do think it matters to just get the biggest names and biggest stars in there, but it's also for 8-year-olds, and if they're going to make a change, they should only allow children to vote. Like, you should have to you have to like submit an elementary school report card, and then you should be able to vote because it's for the kids. Yeah. And grown men get way too bent out of shape about this shit. I know All-Stars sometimes coincide with guys' contract stuff, so that just kind of makes it screwy and puts it weird to just put it in the hands of 1,000 million Russian bots. But whatever. It's an All-Star game. It's for 8-year-olds. I'm going to watch it. I'm going to enjoy it, but I don't think there needs to be any changes. Let's just get it on.
Yeah, then let's kick it off. What would the 8-year-old and you have as the starters?
Well, the 8-year-old me would probably have Kevin Garnett, Paul Pierce. I'm talking about East. I got to do the West anyway. So to kick things off for the West, first at the guard spot is Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, having just an absolutely phenomenal season. 31 points, 5.6 assists, or 5.6 rebounds, 6 assists on 55, 32, 89 splits. So scoring 31 points a game while shooting 32% from three is just impressive at the end of the day. I've said it before, I'll say it again. He's Kyrie Irving 2.0. He's just 5 inches taller than him. Has all the dribble moves, has one of the best dribble packages for a guy with his length, and just knows how to use his body and kind of slide back and forth through the defense. Third most free throw attempts in the league. I know people love to make those free throw merchant jokes nowadays. Whatever, points are points at the end of the day. He's also leading the league in total steals by 27, and he's leading in steals per game. So they're 29 and 13. He shows no signs of slowing down for the next 4 years. And plus, he finished third in the fan vote as well, so I think he's going to get the starting nod after votes come in.
Yeah, long-ass arms dude. We looked it up the other day. He had like a 6'11" wingspan, and so I'm like, it adds up. It adds up. Great pick right there. That doesn't leave a lot of room for the other guard position. Who is your other guard?
Luka Doncic. Sorry to Steph, sorry to Ant, sorry to Booker. Luka is averaging 33.6 points, 8.5 rebounds, 9 assists. He's flat out, in my opinion, the 4th best player in the league still. We all know who the top 3 are, Giannis, Embiid, Jokic. But so I think he's firmly just right the notch under though. They're probably followed by SGA. He's top 5 in all the advanced stuff, PER, win shares, assist percentage, VORP. And he has the moments to do it, like that Christmas Day game against the Suns is an MVP moment at the end of the day. So that's why Luka's getting my 2nd spot.
Understandable. He had the hook fucking bank shot 3 that towards the beginning of the season.
He has like the Luka Magic. Luka Magic. That's what it is.
Luka Magic. He does it deservingly. And then who do we have for the bigs?
The first front court player I'm going with is our boy Kevin Durant. Won't spend too much time on it since we've talked about him a ton already today, but 29.5 points, 53, 46, 88 splits, which is just insane at his volume. 5th in 3-point percentage. After he scores 40 in back-to-back games, and he dropped in 3-point percentage. So at the end of the day, so Kevin Durant's my 3rd starter here. I think that makes sense to most people, and where he finished in the fan vote as well, he should get in.
He will. And then who do we have at the 4?
This one is maybe my hottest take, but it's LeBron, and I'm going to explain why it's not a hot take. He's 25, 7, and 7 at 39 years old. That just is absolutely insane. He's the leading vote getter in the league. Right there. Exactly. leading vote getter. It doesn't matter. The NBA, it doesn't matter what the players and media say. The NBA takes care of its moneymaker. They're going to get him in the All-Star game. If he makes this when he makes this All-Star team, it'll be his 20th, which will be the all-time record.
Wow. Oh, wow.
So he'd be passing Kareem for that as well. And I mean, flat out, the Lakers are sitting next to the Spurs and Hornets if he isn't on the team. So, all due respect to AD, I don't know if the Lakers. I don't think the Lakers should get 2 All-Stars. They probably will, but the starter is going to be LeBron.
Fuck yeah! No, I'm all there for it. Face of the league, and then for the final position in the West, we have the guy,
Nikola Jokic. It's easy. Basically, like, you remember all those nerdy numbers that I said for Luka?
Yeah.
Like, Jokic basically leads the league in all of those categories. Like, if you factor in the games played, he's the MVP. Like, respect to Embiid and all he's doing. Historic season. But he's the best player on the planet still. And I just think the biggest difference maker. And he's still not going to have an all-star teammate. So,
to this day, it's going to help Jokic's career the longer that Jamal Murray never gets one.
Literally.
It might be never. Who knows? All right, did you have any honorable mentions? I mean, you did talk about the guys like Ant, Steph, Book.
Yeah, Ant, Steph, AD, and Devin Booker. Like, I was voting for Booker every time I voted, but he's just trying to be predictive about what's going to happen.
No, totally understand. All right, so hopping over to the East. This one wasn't as fun. I did have one or two that were, interesting to talk about. So I'll go ahead and start from the bottom and step from the top. At the 5 position, we got the MVP, the guy who's leading the league in points with 36 a game. Just had a 70 ball, averaging 11.5 rebounds and 6 assists while he's doing it too. Joel Embiid. He's made this regular season his bitch. I think nobody can argue with that, and he continues to do so. There is absolutely zero argument as to if this guy will be on the list or not. It would just be blasphemous to assume otherwise. I'll leave it at that. Next up, we have Giannis Antetokounmpo at the 4 spot. Leading the entire voting league-wide. The guy who's getting the LeBron James treatment in terms of how good he is and just how used to his dominance we are. 31 points, 11.5 rebounds, 6 assists on a career high of 60% from the field. And these numbers don't sound as cool when you look at Embiid's and he's scoring 36 with the same amount of rebounds and assists. But usage rate isn't the same. The Greek Freak is someone who doesn't need too much explaining either. He's probably the 3rd best player in the league, as you said, and can definitely be considered 1 and 2 at any point in a season or in a playoff run. I mean, I don't know if there's a lot of people disagreeing with me there. And then at the 3 spot, we're going to have Jason Tatum, the best player on the best team in the league. And yeah, he's pretty fucking good individually too. 27 points, 8.5 boards, and 4.5 assists, breaking all of his efficiency records right here. The best efficiency he's had. He's also got that big market bias that makes him an absolute write-in with black ink, with a pen that he will be a starter. There's not really much else to say about this guy. It's deserving. But the one that I had the most difficulty with, it's going to be at the 2 spot because I think the 1 is solidified. I won't spoil it, but at the 2 spot, I think I'm going to have to go with Damian Lillard. And even though they had their issues with coaching position that we talked about this morning, I still think all the voters will recognize, they're still a top 2 seed in the East. Dame isn't putting up the craziest numbers in the world with 25, 7, and 4.5, but he is still a top 75 NBA player, Damian Lillard. And then we look at the other candidates. We got Trae Young and Donovan Mitchell, who are the next in line with in terms of the fan votes. And I think the general consensus has kind of fallen off for the fellas. You look at the Cavs, they're winning games right now, but the dialogue continues around Mitchell that he doesn't make his teammates better. And then the Atlanta Hawks, I mean, they're just straight up a fucking dumpster fire at the moment. Don't know what the hell is going on with that organization. Somebody else that I probably would enjoy to see better is going to be Tyrese Maxey. He might just still be too young for the voters to put him over someone who's as acclaimed with all of his awards, such as Damian Lillard, but I would love to be proven wrong. I just think the respect part and the winning aspect is going to get Lillard that starting spot. And then at the number 1 position, not number 1, well, number 1 in my heart, but the 1 position, the 1 position on the All-Star East is going to be Tyrese Halliburton, 4th in the East in fan voting, averaging over 23.5 points, over 12.5 assists, 4 rebounds on 50, 40, 86 shooting splits. He's literally the perfect person to put in an All-Star game, making talent around him already with Indiana look probably better than they are. And if you give him the best tools in the entire league in a high-scoring environment such as the All-Star game, why on earth do the masses not want him to be the starting point guard? I mean, it makes no sense. Some of the honorable mentions I had, the more real ones is going to be like Jalen Brunson. I would like to have Jaylen Brown on there, but you just gotta understand that front court's way too big. And then talked about the Mitchell stuff, talked about the Trae Young, talked about Tyrese Maxey. I really like to see Jalen Brunson out here. He's definitely going to be a first-time All-Star this year, just not a starter though.
Yeah, no, I definitely can't hate on that list. I have been voting for Halliburton and Maxey along with your same front court guys. So I'm definitely with you there. You really can't go wrong anyway, but I do think Dame is probably the one that's going to get the nod.
The front court guys are so fucking stacked, aren't they?
Yeah, it's just kind of clear cut who it's going to be. It has to be Giannis, Embiid, and Tatum. There's just no real. That's the top three in the standings. That's who it should be, flat out.
Yeah, 100%. I agree. Well, ladies and gentlemen, let us know how you feel about our list. I mean, are you guys just really pissed that Dame's in there? Are you guys Maxey people? I mean,
maybe we'll get a graphic up on the Bright Now Twitter feed. So check us out on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Bright Now PHX. That's at Bright Now PHX. Go get it done.
Go drop a follow. We got, live tweeting during the game sometimes, and we're not absolutely spazzing out on seeing fucking Drew Eubanks just fumble the ball out of bounds, or K Debates Diop just soaring in to miss a rebound. But yeah, that's going to wrap it up for our Tuesday pod. Thank you so much for watching, ladies and gentlemen. And as always, y'all have a phenomenal rest of your day.